In July 1923, Queen Wilhelmina of Holland inaugurated a new train service. Special ships were designed to take complete trains aboard, an idea which began during the war. It was to revolutionize the industry. For human cargo, it was a most interesting experience. The journey began at Liverpool Street Station in London. The morning train for the continent pulled out, heading east towards Harwich. An hour or so later, it arrived at Parkston Quay, where the ship awaited. And so sea trade continued to expand between Holland and England. Fruit and vegetables made up the greater part of our regular imports by rail. In 1939, Hitler's war brought another rude interruption to travel. A nearly normal service resumed soon after hostilities ended. By the 1950s, business was in full swing once again. Within that decade, traffic between Harwich and Zeebrugge more than doubled. But even so, nobody could have foreseen what was going to happen within 20 years. In those days, they were already operating at full capacity. At times, there were not enough ferries to take the waiting freight trucks. In 1946, there were 3 sailings each week, which became 1 each day by 1951, and 3 per day became normal by 1957, quite apart from all the other freight being handled the old-fashioned way. This method of loading ships had hardly changed for centuries, but it was both time-consuming and inefficient. There was a lot to be said for direct train freighting. A lot of work had gone into building freight wagons which could safely run on both British and continental railways. So after the war, a night sleeper service was introduced. The last 400 yards of the journey was made backwards as the train was shunted off for a quick getaway with a Dutch loco on the other side. It was a luxurious adventure for those travellers who could afford it. The excitement for a first-timer must have made sleep impossible as the train slid gently into the hold of the ship. In the last few years, before flying became commonplace, this was the equivalent of today's jet plane to the southern sun. What it might have lacked in comparative speed was certainly made up in romance and charm. But the age of the motor car was about to overtake everyone. American-style independence from trains was the new fashion. Whether cars were huge Cadillacs or modest prefects, they all had to be hoisted aboard. And everyone had to wait. The old-fashioned way could not be speeded up. And at the other end of the journey, the whole procedure was reversed. It was altogether an expensive luxury taking the car, best suited to the smart set who had too much time on their hands. But soon enough, ordinary folk in funny old vans were joining the queue. This sounded the death knell for the grandeur of gracious old-style travel. A new era of popular foreign jaunting had arrived. For many in the 1950s, it was the first time on the continent since the war. The opening up of Europe to British travellers was the best thing that had ever happened to ordinary folk at home. All that was needed was for someone to invent successful roll-on, roll-off ferries, but that was to happen soon enough. There was no shortage of demand by foot passengers who travel on by train or bus, and many more took advantage of round trips just for fun and shopping. The invention of the stabilizer, unseen below the waterline, made visits to the restaurant worthwhile. Life down below was considerably more comfortable now that diesel replaced coal-fired steam engines. The dust and grime had gone, along with the endless shoveling of coal by sweaty stokers. In terms of nautical development, ferry boats were getting high priority. The latest technology was bringing them right up to date. Speed and efficiency was all that mattered.